We have a full house because a lot of things is happening in government. The Minister of Public Works, Honorable Giddings, is here. You have Dr. Luke L. Bao, the Managing Director of the Liberia Medical and Health Regulatory Authority, LMHRA. We are also expecting the Honorable Labor Minister. We are here to provide you updates from their respective entities, because as a government we do believe that a lot of things are happening that need to be talked about to inform the people, the public, of what the government is doing. Before the order here is that the Minister of Public Works will make a presentation, and he will be followed by the LHRA, and then the Labor Minister. And then we'll take your questions after they have concluded the presentation. So let me now make the following remarks on behalf of the government of Liberia. We all know yesterday the President, His Excellency Joseph Boakai delivered the first address in his capacity as President of the Republic of Liberia to the 79th section of the United Nations General Assembly. But before yesterday, the President had addressed the General Assembly on two separate occasions when he served as Vice President to former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in 2009 and 2011. Yesterday's address was historic for President Boakai and the government and people of Liberia. As a government, we are elated at the eloquence at which the President delivered his speech to the United Nations about some very pertinent issues that he outlined to the world. The President commented about world peace, security, about the troubling disintegration of ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States. We note with keen interest that Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso say they are in the process of establishing their own union, the AES, Alliance of Sahel States. President Boakai urged the United Nations and the AU to intervene to ensure that ECOWAS does not disintegrate further, and that Africans can resolve our own issues peacefully. The President noted the challenges facing our country, the illegal drug situation which we have declared a war on as a government, the maternal mortality rate which is still a problem for us. The President told the world that Liberia has taken note of the observation of the recent UNHCR mission that highlighted maternal and newborn deaths in Liberia as an issue. The President declared to the world that the government will act very quickly to respond to the challenge. The President also told the United Nations General Assembly that his arrest agenda is very much aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and that the agenda prioritizes employment for Liberia's young people, who constitute about 60% of the national population. The President touched on climate change and the contribution that Liberia can make to deal with the effects. He touched on the war in the Middle East and called for total ceasefire, and that both Israel and Palestine to come together to work towards a peaceful resolution of the conflict and to achieve a two-state solution to end the war. The President also called for peace in Russia and Ukraine war and urged the parties to work out a solution through dialogue and that respects the territorial integrity of Ukraine. These were among the many issues the President touched on. His full speech, members of the press, the President's full speech has been published on the official website of the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Security. The government of Liberia also, on the margin of the UN General Assembly, the government of Liberia has signed a 5-year master service agreement with the U.S. technology firm, Sabascom Institute of Technology, for a digital fast track DFT program in Liberia. We are happy to report that the process to digitize Liberia, beginning with government services, has begun. On September 23, 2024, the government of Liberia signed this agreement to implement a digital fast-track program in Liberia over the next 5 years. Under this agreement, it is important to note, the firm will support Liberia's undersea connectivity and will upgrade Liberia's internet speed and capabilities. This connection will position Liberia as a regional digital hub. The firm will also build a scalable data center for Liberia to host government services. The firm will implement select digital government services to enhance citizens' interaction, streamline business process, and modernize public sector operations, including services such as e-visa, e-taxis, e-tourism, among others. The firm will ensure the security of online infrastructure that it will construct for Liberia. Under this agreement and put in place a national computer security incident response team to be able to deal with threats associated with cyber capabilities that they are doing. It is important to indicate that Foreign Minister, Madam Sarah Besto-Yanti, signed on behalf of the government of Liberia in New York. As a government, we understand that Mr. Samuel Tuere, former finance minister under the SYCDC government, has turned himself in yesterday at a court and was granted bail. The government commends every Liberian who believes in the justice system, trust it, to avail themselves whenever there is an issue. A fortnight ago, the government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Justice and the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, indicted former officials of the immediate past government. Among those indicted was the former finance minister. They faced charges including economic sabotage, criminal conspiracy, among others. We are happy to learn that Mr. Tuere has returned to the country to defend himself against the charges levied against him. We are also happy that Mr. Tuere no longer believes that he is being witch hunted as he previously insinuated. The government of Liberia, under the leadership of President Boakai, has no interest in witch hunting anyone. Where the laws of the land are allegedly violated, the right and proper thing to do as a government is to take advantage of the legal process to hold alleged lawbreakers accountable. And Mr. Tuere and those indicted are no exception. This is exactly what the Ministry of Justice and the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission are doing, and we hail them for that. We encourage Mr. Tuere and anyone indicted on criminal charges to trust the legal system, avail themselves, and clear their names. As a government, we are confident that we have a case against Mr. Tuere and those indicted, and we will prove it in the court. We encourage Mr. Tuere and his colleagues to meet us at the theater of justice, where matters of law are adjudicated. Mr. Tuere bond was posted and accepted and will understand that he has been released on bail. This is the rule of law I will pray for. This is democracy at work. The government continues to welcome eye-opening comments from members of the clergy and the civil society, but notes that President Bouaga is wise enough to steer the ship in the direction in which he determines fit as a captain. We have been reading news headlines, and we see that the former president of the Liberian Council of Churches, the Reverend Kotu appears to be, say that there are people who appear to be Jonah in the government of President Bouaga, and he's urging the president to throw them out. As a government, we thank Reverend Brown for his continuous engagement on issues of national concern and encourage every Liberian to get involved. The president also followed these comments as they help us to see things that will be properly overlooked. However, we want to assure Bishop Brown and every Liberian that our president is competent, capable, and wise. And whenever he determines that a particular official is a Jonah, unquote, as Bishop Brown says, the president will act decisively. Until that time, the president has not made any determination. As of today, the president has explicit confidence in those he has appointed, and he believes they are doing the best they can to help deliver on the arrest agenda. Public comments and engagement are always welcome, and we thank Bishop Brown and every Liberian for remaining engaged with the government. The recent FOCA summit, where our president returned from Asia, and you heard that there were a lot of commitment, memorandum of understanding, some term it as agreement, gentleman agreement, MOU. They are now beginning to yield results. One of several companies from China has signed one of those memorandum of understanding with the government to undertake investment in Liberia arriving in the country this week. The China National Complete Engineering Corporation, the CNCEC, signed an MOU for an initial $100 million investment portfolio to cover energy infrastructure development in Liberia. The group is in the country today. They paid a policy visit on Mika yesterday to discuss their intentions for Liberia. The group plans to tackle the road construction between 12th Street in Single and Kesseley Boulevard on the Japan Freeway. Their initial investment portfolio also includes solar energy development, the modernization of the Ramos International Airport. We are grateful that the group has immediately followed up their pledge to our government, and they are here in the country to do their assessment. The investment is part of the $50 billion package announced for Africa by Chinese President Xi Jinping at the recent FOCA summit. These investments are happening over the next 3 years, so we can expect some serious transformation projects as a country. Again, as a government, we remain grateful to China and the rest of our international partners for supporting our government to deliver on its promise. Then lastly, before we take our guests, we are pleased to report that the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and its executive board have approved the 40-month extended credit facility, ECF arrangement in the tune of $210 billion for Liberia. The IMF management and executive board made an approval at a board meeting on Wednesday, September 25, 2024. The government of Liberia is glad the decision of the board. It signifies our worthiness to benefit from continued support from the IMF and other international partners. The IMF support will assist us in informed efforts to address macroeconomic imbalances and establish a foundation for increased private sector-led growth beyond the natural resource sector. Finance Minister, Mr. Augustine P. Gafwan, has termed the achievement as a momentous step in ensuring that Liberia trends the path fiscally responsible and sustainable development. He notes that the IMF board decision is an expression of confidence in the partnership between Liberia and the IMF. The Finance Development Minister also thanked President Waka for his exemplary leadership role and commitment throughout the process. As a government, we are excited at this news and we hope you will join us as well. On that note, we will now invite to the podium the Honorable Minister of Public Works to make his presentation.
Good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon to Liberians in Radio Land, those who are glued to social media, Liberians abroad. It is an honor for me to be here today as Minister of Public Works and to provide an update on where we in terms of our road infrastructure. Like all of us know, roads have continued to be a major challenge in this country because of the deficit that we've had over 100+ years, making it difficult for us to traverse the country from state and city to city. And that is why the government, over many years, even from Madam Salih's leadership, had thought it made sense to prioritize road, because if you connect roads, you enhance agriculture, you enhance education, you enhance, of course, healthcare, you enhance the economic development, and just everything. Road serves as the vein that transports the blood to parts of the body. And so we are glad to be heading the Ministry of Public Works and here to continue with some of what started over many years. When the President took over in February, the 100-day project was a project in the road sector announced to be able to deal with the long-lasting situation where almost every rain season we have the roads cut off. Majority of our cities, especially in the southeast, northwest, central Liberia, are not connected to the capital and other major cities. And so we launched the 100-day deliverable. That covers 786 kilometers of roads, and that's from Broadway to Bopolu. That's from Vonjima, from Salaye to Vonjima, Vonjima to Foya, Foya to Minikoma, Tapeta to Zoaju, Zoaju to Kanwiken, Plibo to Bagleyville, Buchanan to Saturday Town to Sester Junction, Sester Junction to ITI, ITI to Greenville. We went through a process and got contractors in these corridors. We're here to give you some update as to where we are and what we achieved from the 100 days. And I'm glad to say the 100-day project was not a perfect one, but it was intended to begin a process to move our corridors that are not paved into the state where even during the rainy season, our roads will be pliable. And I can simply say the prices of commodities now in some of the areas are even lower than 2 or 3 years ago. And I'll start with Broadway Bopolu. Today, you can drive from Broadway to Bopolu. Of course, there will be small challenges along the corridor, and it's that the contractors are still working. Some of the contractors are still installing culverts along that corridor. And so because of that, you will have some challenges. But you can drive into Bopolu City. And I think we are probably even with the heavy rain this time, because of the situation that is all around in terms of climate change. And don't forget that Liberia hosts 40% of the forest in West Africa. It is obvious that we get a little over 5,000 milliliters of rain every year. And that can impact our corridors, but still vehicles are going to Bogu City. Salayu to Banjuma, not very excellent. We have some challenges in our corridor, but you can still go up to Banjuma. Banjuma to Foya Minikuma is doing excellent. You can drive up to 60 kilometers per hour. So we've had a team to come back from Banjuma up to Minikoma to the Guinean border. Salayu to Banjuma, some challenges, but the contractors are staying there working. And that was why the project was designed to say that even during the rainy season, we have equipment and the contractors will remain in these corridors, and that's happening in that corridor. Tapeta to Zoeju is excellent, was excellent, but when the heavy rain came, we started to have some challenges. However, the contractors are in that corridor working and trying to correct some of the abnormalities. Zoeju to Karakin is excellent. You can drive 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. Zoeju to Karakin. You do not have issue in that corridor. It's doing good. Fleetwood to Barclayville. Some challenges. There's a section that is Golden Beryllium that's operating in that corridor. We have a serious problem with the trucks. And so there are some challenges in certain section of the corridor, like 50% of that. But a good portion into Barclayville is doing good. We're happy that the rain season is subsiding now, and the intent is to try to look at some of the, I won't say mistakes, but some of the issues we have in the corridor and create ways of stabilizing some of the soil. There are some technology that you use to stabilize any section of the corridor that continue to perform in ways that are not okay. Some of the section will be like, we have clay, and we're trying now to see how we can use some technology to stabilize, use the same clay or soil to stabilize such section in the corridor. Buchanan to Saturday Town, beginning to work okay. We have some issue in our corridor, and I will say here to the people of Liberia, those in Radio Land, what we did with the 100 Day was to make sure we get work done. And if there was any contractor that did not meet up with the specification, we have to take some decision. And I want to announce to you today that Robust Construction Company, which was responsible for the first 30 kilometers from Buchanan to Cester Junction to Saturday Time, performance was unacceptable when we investigated the corridor, and our team went out there to see what they were doing. The equipment they had in the corridor before the rain was okay. During the rains, they were not. So some of the section was getting terrible. There were no capacity to do the work they ought to do. We had to terminate the contract. So among the companies that worked during the 100 days, we've terminated one contract, and I can say to you, when there are places where companies are not performing as we expect, we go ahead and terminate the contracts. And once you do that, then you embark with Public Works. So that company contract was terminated. We went to DBCC and got a no objection to proceed with the company Adams that was between Saturday Town and Cester Junction. And that company is currently intervening in the corridor to make it pliable as it should be based on the contract terms and conditions. ITI to Greenville, we still have some challenges along the corridor, but the company is there working to make sure the corridor remains pliable. So there may be vehicles that may get stuck somewhere along the way, but once the companies have the equipment in line, the companies will go ahead and remove vehicles. So I know you will see some social media posts about cars getting stuck in the bodies of places. Very possible that could happen. But the companies are working in those corridors and helping vehicles to get removed from the stock situation. And that happened because we all know when the races start in this country. The 100-day miracle project started in April. And we ran with that to make sure we are able to at least get pliability to an extent. And I want to report that overall rating for the 100 days, we still have cars going into these places with some challenges that led 2-3 years ago. So we're going to continue during the dry season. During the dry season, these companies will continue to work in these corridors because the project, 10 of the contractors have the contract for 2 years, up to 2026. So the maintenance work continues during the rain. And I can commit to you, Liberians, that during the dry season, Of course, we will have almost 5 to 6 months of drought. We hope so. There will be a lot of work done to ensure that the corridor becomes even more pliable to prepare for the next rainy season. And let me say thanks to all of those who supported what we did. It's the same as we took a risk as a government, but it was a risk worth taking. It was being politicized also, but we stood the test of time, working with our colleagues across the other branches of government, the legislature, working with all of those who supported the Ministry of Finance and also the President's office, and with our ability to say, let's take this risk, we took it. And we are at the level where we know going forward in the next rainy season, we have a better road to supply ability. Now, I also like to talk about some of the ongoing road projects. There's good thing happening in our country. The good thing that has happened or been happening, but we have to restart some of these projects. So, for example, the project from Banga to Salaye, that project stopped because of disbursement. We have 4 funders that funded that project, but the last government, I don't want to say they did not want to take it seriously. They did their part, but faltered on the loan payment, and so because of that, disbursement was closed on that project. We are discussing with the Kuwaitis and OFAC to try to reopen disbursement of the project. So hopefully dry season, that project will commence. It is at 91%. We've done 67 kilometers already. It is 81 kilometers. We're hoping to complete that project and open up discussion with those funders to look at paving from Salaye up to Vanjima. I will also announce that we have other companies with interest that are doing feasibility studies for that corridor. So we would like to get the last funder, the Arab donors, or our new partners we are talking to and that are doing feasibility studies now on the corridor. We're hoping that that corridor can restart beyond Salaye up to Vanjima. And like I say, once we're able to seal most of our corridors, it is obvious that pliability will be something that we all can rely on because the corridors are sealed now with asphalt. The next project that I want to talk about is Ganta to Sanikwale. Ganta to Sanikwale project is 37 kilometers, completed 100%. I know some of you journalists may have gone into that corridor. You drive now up to Sanikwale, complete. We're only waiting for dedication. We had a meeting with ArcelorMittal that partially funded the project. Both ArcelorMittal and the government funded that project. So we're in discussion with them to see how we can do phase 2. And phase 2 will take us from Sanikwale into Yekepa. And we believe this is something that is doable. ArcelorMittal has been committed to the first phase of the project, and the discussions are taking place to extend that into Yekepa. Next is the Sanikwale to Lobato, the Agora border project. That project is 41 kilometers. That project is about 85% complete. We have had some issue, and that's amounting to 43 kilometers. So we are left with not more than 5 kilometers, hopefully, to be done, including the wearing codes. There is some issue with the project. We're working with the ERB, which is a funder to the project, that withheld the last disbursement for the project because we have owed as a government some money on the Mount Coffee project, which they funded also, about $3 million. The government is preparing to pay that money. And there are some social issues in the project that's been addressed. We have a team coming in town in October to conclude all of that, and hopefully by November, December, disbursement will take place so that the dry season we can complete the project. If anyone have driven on that corridor for Sanikwale to Lobato, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so there will be a time where you will drive up to that road border on asphalt road. Another thing that will happen, the border posts should have been built on the Agora side. They've asked us as a country to take over because they are not in a position to deal with the resettlement of the corridor. So we took responsibility as a government to have the border posts at the Lobato border between Liberia and Ivory Coast built on our side. That will also enhance, of course, the project. And that project will be completed, hopefully, before the next dry season, if we get disbursement to take place as of November. Ganda to Saklipi, 39 kilometers. It's been paved, and I know some of you have driven on that corridor before. That corridor is about 53.3% complete. We need to work. We inherited an arrears of $5 million for both the contractor and the consultant on that project. We have been trying to raise money as a government to be able to take care of that. The contractor has insisted that they needed close to 75% of what they are owed to begin the project again. So the project shut down like it for almost a year and a half now because of the pavement. And so we are hoping that during the dry season, we're able to meet up with that pavement schedule so the project can restart. That's SECRAM 1, the Southeastern Corridor Road Access Management Project. The first section is 39 kilometers, is paid for by the government of Liberia. The second section from Saklepi to Tapeta is paid for by the World Bank. So we don't want our corridor, which is just 39 kilometers, to not finish, and the World Bank corridor that they're paying for gets done, which is 61 kilometers. We're hoping that we can restart that project during the dry season. So Saklepi to Tapeta is ongoing. Pavement is about 50% complete. We're hoping that during the dry season, a lot will be done. We've done a good portion already with asphalt, and the project is ongoing without any stop because of the funding, the flow of the funding for that project. So dry season will see more work taking place. Tapeta to Toastown. Now I'm talking about pavement. We've concluded the contract for this. We're supposed to do what you call biodiversity studies. You know, with the World Bank project, it requires certain things that must be done, especially in certain corridor. The intent is that the project should not impact the environment, so that even those who live within the corridor, in the right of way, for example, will have to pay for route for them. Also, they also consider the natural habitat. So the biodiversity studies also look at that. If you have animals and you know, jokingly I say chimpanzee or other, they want to be sure that the project does not affect them in any type of way. So the biodiversity study is done, and hopefully that project will get started by the end of the year. So that means, as a government, we already have funding to pay from Ganta up to Toastown. It doesn't stop there. The World Bank also, to do what we call RETRAP, which is the second portion of that, for Toastown to Zoeju. I've also provided funding for the project. Recently, the House of Representatives passed a financing agreement, and the Senate should do the same by concurrence with that. And that will fund 85 kilometers of road from Toastown to Zoeju and to the Ivorian border. So we're paving also to the Ivorian border from the Zoeju side. That project, right now, we are in the process of procurement to procure the contractor for physical work. The consultants, of course, are doing what they have to do in terms of the design. And once the procurement process is done, we set to wrap construction, physical work on that corridor will start sometime next year. I'm sure before the half of next year, we'll start physical work. So we can simply say that from Ganta to Zoeju, the government overall has secured funding to pave the corridor. So the issue of car getting stuck in the mud will be done with very soon, and you will remember that this is ever happening. I know as we drive from Monrovia to Ganta and enjoy what we do and drive from Monrovia to Buchanan, and don't imagine that once upon a time those roads were terrible. You'll soon experience that from Ganta to Zoeju. Also, from Zoeju to John Davis Town, which is 8.5 kilometers, currently detailed designs are being done so that we proceed into the process of review and hiring a contractor. That takes us closer to Fishtown. Don't forget, the road from Harper to Plebo and Plebo to Fishtown is paved. Currently, we are also paving from Fishtown to Kilibo, that's 20 kilometers. So the balance, 98 kilometers, which is 50 and 49. Zoeju to John Davis Town, the designs, like I said, will be reviewed, and then procurement process will start to hire a contractor to build the road. The next one we are finalizing is from John Davis Town to Putuken, which is 50 kilometers. The procurement process for the consultant firm is ongoing, and of course, once the technical evaluation is done and complete, the consultant firm will proceed with, of course, developing the designs, that which is required to enhance the procurement process for physical work. So the last section, which is from John Davis to Putuken, will likely start towards the end of next year. But I can simply say to Liberians in Redland, where we are, that by 2028, 2029, it's very likely that you will drive from Monrovia to Maryland County on asphalt road. And that is what we're talking about when we say connectivity, to connect, of course, Monrovia to the southeast, to the central Liberia. Not forgetting that, the government also announced, the last government announced, previous government spoke about what you call the Coastal Highway. The Coastal Highway is the corridor from Buchanan to Cester Junction in the Cester City to Greenville, Greenville to Barclayville, Barclayville to Peeble. And it is good to say that the Coastal Highway project has started from Barclayville. So we're moving from Barclayville into Cester City, into Sastown, Sastown to Cloney, and that is towards the Greenville. It's about 96 kilometers. This has been financed by the Indian Exim Bank, and currently we are in the procurement process to get a contractor to do physical work. We're also doing what we call the ESIA, and we'll be doing rock pavement to make sure the corridor is ready. The contractor could likely commence work during the dry season. It could be doing this year, it could be doing next year, first quarter. So work will start from Barclayville to Sastown up to Cloney. And of course, the next phase will go. So the pavement is done for the first 50 kilometers. We all know the RIA project, when we took over the ministry, that project to an extent was a little stalled. We had to work with the contractors and the consultant to reorder the project. And I can simply say to you, like you all can see, because you're in Monrovia, over the last 5 to 6 months, that project has fast advanced. And we are glad to say the project is doing okay. We are at a stage where during the dry season, more works will be done. The only bridge on that corridor, which is the jump bridge, seems to be constructed. Construction should start during the dry season. And we are hoping that that project will likely finish in the next 1.5 to 2 years. The RIA project is doing okay as far as we know. L.Y. Johnson took over the factory. That project is ended, completed 100%. We're looking now to see how we can do the dedication during the dry season. Now, let's look at the city streets. I know there are a lot of issues about potholes everywhere in the city. And those of you who are in the Broadway area, coming to town, we want to apologize to you on behalf of the government of Liberia, for what you are experiencing. But I will say this, that corridor was abandoned for almost 6 years without any maintenance. That is why it is what it is. The corridor has deteriorated so badly that, you have to have a whole dry season to be able to do some work. And we have to just intervene using aggregates to put in the hole, close up the holes, and to just keep it as is. So I want to apologize. A few days we've been doing some work in that corridor. The drainage system in that corridor has not been cleaned for the last 6 years, I will say to you, because we started cleaning before the rains actually came heavily, and the dirt that we took from in the different drainage system there was unimaginable. But we have a plan to do serious work during this dry season. However, the Japanese is supposed to be doing from Gabriel Tucker Bridge to Freeport. That road will be elevated. It will be designed as you see the Japan Freeway. There's conversation to also see whether they will extend beyond Freeport to St. Paul Bridge. Not finalized yet, but we're going to persuade that. But what we know we have is the commitment to do from Gabriel Tucker Bridge to Freeport. The designs are being finalized. It's sent to the ministry for review very soon. That project, with all of the arrangement, will likely start towards mid next year, towards the end. So what do we do before that? We have a procurement process taking place now to get a contractor company that will stabilize that corridor from Gabriel Tucker Bridge to Freeport. But then what happened from Freeport to St. Paul Bridge? Freeport to St. Paul Bridge, there is a current contract with MDMC, a Liberian company that has the capability of doing asphalt road. That company is committed to do the work during the dry season. The reason why they could not start during the dry season, we had to look at the contract because there was a request for an addendum we should review if it wasn't necessary. Let's stick to the original contract. Then the rains came and they could not do the work because asphalt work cannot be done really during the rain season. So we're going to get that done during the dry season. We'll do all we can. We are committed that we'll work overtime, make sure we get the money available. We talk to the Ministry of Finance, the money required to get this work done. We're hoping that we have it in time so we can utilize the dry season to get these corridor pliable, so that at least we can relieve our people of the kind of suffering that they go through. So the corridor will be dealt with during the dry season. Everywhere where you see potholes, the Momotown corridor, the bypass, that lead from the beer factory. We're also going to be looking at the, of course, the SKD Boulevard, Comertown Back Road. Everywhere where you see potholes, even in Central Monrovia and other places, we have companies that are going through the procurement process now. We'll be doing work. So I can safely say to you that during the dry season, you see a lot of work taking place within the city limits and also across the country. That is what we will do to ensure that we bring roads to our people. We also got this commitment from the Chinese government. That started since 2015-2016 to build 2 overhead bridges, that is interchanges. And that will be the first of its kind in our country to help to relieve the traffic as an interchange will be built at the Ministerial Complex and at the SKD Boulevard. So I can safely say to you, by November, we'll start to do demolition along those corridors within the limits of the Ministerial Complex and also the SKD Boulevard. By the 1st of November, we will start demolition to prepare the site for construction of the 2 interchanges, which will connect to the Comertown Back Road from both sides, from the SKD Boulevard and also from the side of the Ministerial Complex to alleviate the traffic. So that will create a situation where if you're coming from Comertown, Fort of Painesville, and you don't want to stop at the Ministerial Complex, you just fly over the Ministerial Complex, coming down anywhere around maybe the Zone 3, and then you're on your way to town. Those who want to go to the Ministerial Complex will do the same. Comertown Back Road, so it's an interchange. We have the prototype of it when the construction starts, so you can see exactly what we're talking about. But we are happy that the People's Republic of China has given that to the government of Liberia as a gift. It is not a loan, it's a grant. Construction should start in February of next year. We have in 2 weeks a team of engineers from China to be visiting Liberia and the Ministry of Public Works for us to begin the groundwork for the construction of the overhead. Lastly, and this is very important, we've had a lot of flooding around the capital and around the city and its environment. People have built in their alleys, people have built on waterways, people built on sewer systems. Let me say this, that we're working with the Water Sewer Corporation within City Center of Monrovia. There are those who build on the sewer system. We're very determined to remove those who build on the sewer system, especially in the city of Monrovia. Water Sewer and the Ministry of Public Works identifying the sewer system that have been built on, blocking, of course, the free flow of sewer, and other places where there will be, even the drainage system also. There will be demolition exercise around Monrovia. In the next few weeks, we'll be demolishing properties that are identified to be on the alley. There will be no exception. We'll demolish your property if you build intentionally on the alley. We'll create access to the communities. This has never happened. We'll not postpone it. If you leave and go to other country, you see that they lay our property. We're prepared for that. We know it will be politicized. I jokingly said to the legislators, they shouldn't call me. If they call me, I will go there, but I will stop. We demolish properties that are in the alley. We know we all live in the communities. People are aware that the alley is the alley. And they say, when the government ready, I will move. Okay, the government is ready. The government is ready. And so during the dry season, public works will be doing demolition. Also, those who build in the right of way. You go along the boulevard, you see people putting their steel stoves, their containers, and building on fences. We're going to clear everything from there. If you look, you see now there are properties that are already marked. They've gone through the process. Of course, we have a whole process at the Ministry of Public Works because we know we will be taken to court. So our lawyers work through that. There is a due process that we give them. There's a hearing process. It is finalized, and when the lawyer says, okay for demolition, we demolish. And I've been in the business for a while, because when our Deputy Minister of Public Works, we did demolition of properties in the right of way for a while. And we were taken to court twice, and we won the case because we make sure we are very meticulous in the way we proceed. So if you're in the alley, maybe I will ask you to start doing your own demolition. You know, if you do self-demolition, you could save some of your zinc, your window, or some of that. If you allow the Ministry of Public Works to come, the machine will demolish it. And when the machine is doing the demolition, there's no way to save anything. We'll ask you, if your property have already been marked, and you're in the alley, and you give a time already, we'll serve you notice as to when we're coming. Don't stay there. Please leave, because we create access to the community. Once more, it's my honor to be here. And I'm glad that we'll come to report to the Liberian people as to where we are with works in the road sector. Thank you for having me.
This Minister of Public Works, listen to him providing a comprehensive report. Because like Bayville, Chomanoville, and not listening to be impressive to the people of Bayville. Next we're going to be doing Cocoa Crop.
Good afternoon to colleagues here in the room, to the listening audience, and to people following us online. We want to use this first opportunity that we have to meet the press to again express our appreciation to His Excellency Joseph Yoman Boyka for our preferment to steer the affairs of the LMHRA. We say thank you to the invitation extended to us by the Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs and Tourism to provide again further evidence of the work that we have done in this short space of time since April to present, and to highlight the challenges the LMHRA. We are happy that our staff accompany us here, sitting at the front, the Deputy Managing Director, Dr. Patricia Freeman, and supported in the background that you won't see, but we have directors,